After being worked like a servant at my in-laws' house, I sighed as I once again found myself without any high-end sushi. Seeing my mother-in-law say, "You took my beloved son from me, so you should suffer," I thought, enough is enough. Not eating? Oh, there's no sushi for you? It's fine. It's always like this. Immediately, my brother-in-law lost his temper. My name is Emily. I'm a 33-year-old working wife. I've been married to Kevin for 5 years. Though we have been struggling with not having kids yet, Kevin's relaxed attitude of, "It'll happen eventually," kept us from taking any serious steps. Our marriage is neither great nor bad, it's just normal. As I sipped my tea wondering what to do next, my brother-in-law asked curiously. There is a family gathering at my husband's parents' house every year. We avoid busy times like Christmas and Thanksgiving, so we gather when the weather gets warmer. I don't mind this arrangement, but the issue is how I'm treated. Kevin has an older brother and 2 older sisters. His brother is single and lives abroad, rarely coming home. His 2 sisters are married and live nearby, but their husbands never attend the gatherings. They probably find visiting their wife's family stressful and unpleasant. Honestly, I think they're right. Actually, I don't want to go either, but my husband doesn't listen to my opinion. Since lots of people are coming, help out my mom, he says. It's hard to say no when asked to help. I wouldn't mind if it was actually helping. But the reality is entirely different. My mother-in-law just sits in the living room and never moves. She's happily chatting with relatives she hasn't seen in a while. The only time she speaks to me is to ask, "Emily, can you get some more snacks?" Or, "I'm a bit hungry, can you make something?" Sometimes, she even says, "I'm busy, so could you do the cleaning and laundry?" How is laughing while eating snacks considered busy? Kevin's sisters are no different, not lifting a finger. They both have small kids, but don't watch them at all. When the kids spill drinks, they blame me, "Emily, why weren't you watching our kids?" Meanwhile, I'm somehow stuck cleaning the bathroom as instructed by my mother-in-law. How am I supposed to watch the kids when I'm in the bathroom? And what's with them holding beers while doing nothing? Kevin's dad just sits quietly, munching on snacks with a beer in hand. Since the family gathering is at their house, the other relatives also treat me like a servant. Do this, do that, go shopping, watch the kids. Yet, I receive no thanks, only cold looks and comments like, "You're useless." The worst part is dinner time. High-end sushi is ordered for the gathering every year. Only my mother-in-law handles the call to place the order. Although price doesn't always equal taste, this place is known for its delicious sushi. That's why my mother-in-law orders from this place, and the relatives all enjoy it, praising how delicious it is. But I have never had a chance to eat it. Yes, that's right. There's no sushi for me. Despite working hard all day and making the most effort. In the 5 years since getting married, not once has there been any sushi for me. Emily, if you don't work you don't eat, right? A useless IQ doesn't deserve to eat, my mother-in-law said, handing me a cup of weak tea. But I felt sorry for you, so I made this just for you. Enjoy. This has been going on for 5 years. I've held out for quite some time, I think. But maybe it's time to stop. No matter what my husband says, I won't go to these family gatherings anymore. I made up my mind. However, I learned that my brother-in-law would be attending the next family gathering. He lives abroad and rarely comes back to the States. I haven't seen him since our wedding. Since he's coming, it feels wrong to skip this gathering, so I reluctantly decided to go. I'll skip the next one when he's not here. I resolved that this would be the last time, and mentally prepared myself. Then, the day of the gathering arrived. "Emily, we're out of wine. Can you get some from the fridge?" Kids dropped the cake. "Emily, clean it up quickly." "What's this?" "Emily, these snacks are not enough. Make something more filling." My mother-in-law and sisters-in-law bombarded me with demands. Even my husband said, "Emily, mom's getting old, so clean the bathroom. It's just a rare thing, so make it spotless." He even added, "Oh, and heat up my sake." I scrambled around, trying to fulfill each request. Meanwhile, my husband, in-laws, and relatives just enjoyed themselves, eating, drinking, and chatting. I started getting angry. Should I just drop everything and leave? Just as I was considering it, my brother-in-law arrived. "Hey, everyone, long time no see," he said as he walked in, and the room erupted with excitement. Everyone started greeting him, asking, "How have you been?" and "It's been so long." Everyone started drinking again, and I missed my chance to leave. I sighed, thinking this would be the last time. Even after that, I kept running around and following orders. While preparing some snacks in the kitchen, my brother-in-law came over. "Emily, are you okay? It looks like you're doing everything by yourself," he said, looking concerned. I was surprised. This was the first time anyone showed concern for me at these gatherings. "Oh, no, everyone's having a good time, so I'm just making sure they're enjoying themselves." "But you shouldn't be doing this alone, right? Let me talk to Mom and other members," he said. So I hurriedly stopped him when he was about to confront my mother-in-law and sisters-in-law. I didn't mind having a fallout with my mother-in-law since I wasn't planning to come back. But I felt bad about my brother-in-law having a conflict with his family on his rare visit. "I'm okay, really. Please, don't worry about it," I insisted. "All right, but if you need anything, just let me know," he said and returned to the others. Perhaps because of his long time abroad, he seemed to have different values from the rest of the family. I felt a pang of sadness. I wished those words had come from my husband, not my brother-in-law. Feeling a tightness in my chest, I clenched my hands at my chest. Just then, my mother-in-law came into the kitchen. I braced myself, expecting another task, but she started making a phone call. It seemed she was calling the high-end sushi place. Even though she had pre-ordered, she always called on the day of the event to confirm. I could hear her talking as she sat in the kitchen chair. "As usual, please have it ready by 6 p.m. Yes, the number of people is correct. The number of people, made me twitch. The number of people, huh? I bet they wouldn't include me again this year. I no longer had any expectations. I've come to accept that there's never any sushi for me. To be honest, I'd rather leave if there's nothing for me." I must have been staring at her because she finished her call and met my gaze. Suddenly, she smirked. "Oh, I'm so looking forward to the high-end sushi this year. Emily, you like their sushi, don't you?" It was a complete jab. She knew I had never tasted it. Forcing a strained smile, I replied, "No, I've never had it before." I had to hold back, or I'd end up saying something I shouldn't. Feigning surprise, she exaggeratedly said, "Really? You've never had it? Oh, that's a shame. But don't worry, you'll get to taste it today." And patted my shoulder hard. I almost wanted to throw a steaming hot beans at her heavily made-up face. I had to stop myself from saying something rude. I couldn't stoop to her level. I kept telling myself to hold on. Seeing I didn't respond, she smirked again, feeling triumphant. "Kevin is my beloved son. Since you took him from me, you should suffer." Before I could react, she had already returned to the living room. Did I hear that right? So, she was intentionally making me miserable? Driven by her love for her son, she is going to such lengths. I'm not sure about my sisters-in-law, but it was clear my mother-in-law was deliberately mistreating me. It's unforgivable. Despite my hard work, not only was there no gratitude, but I was told I should suffer? There's no need to be a good daughter-in-law anymore. As I ignored the commands given to me, I pondered what to do next. In the meantime, the sushi delivery arrived. Although I was annoyed, I still compelled to move and got up to arrange the sushi and prepare the tea. I set out the sushi and got everything ready. The sushi was divided individually, with different sets for adults and kids. But, as expected, there was no sushi in front of me. Well, naturally. When I looked at my husband, he feigned surprise. "Oh, Emily, there's no sushi for you?" It was blatantly insincere. Neither my husband, father-in-law, nor my sisters-in-law cared, despite it happening every time. My mother-in-law put on a fake show, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I must have miscounted since I forgot my son was coming." Liar. You were the most excited about your son coming home. Looking around at the relatives, I noticed they were all smirking but said nothing. It seemed everyone understood that my mother-in-law doted excessively on my husband. "Well, you just have to endure," someone said. It was probably Kevin's uncle or some other old man. Just then, my brother-in-law returned from a work call and took his seat, and everyone began eating. I wondered how I should vent my simmering anger. Thinking that, I sipped my hot tea. My brother-in-law noticed and asked curiously, "Hey, Emily, aren't you eating?" Of course, it would be strange if I were the only one without food. Everyone else but my brother-in-law didn't find it odd. "No. It's fine. It's always like this," I replied nonchalantly, taking another sip of tea. "What? Mom, where's Emily's sushi?" My brother-in-law was surprised and looked at my mother-in-law, who put on a troubled expression. "Well, you see, I accidentally forgot that you were coming, so I only ordered the usual number of sushi," she said. "That's a lie. You clearly ordered an extra sushi for my brother-in-law." I finished my tea and poured myself another cup. "What? Emily, I'm so sorry. Take my sushi, please," my brother-in-law offered. I was so taken aback by his unexpected offer that I stopped mid-sip, completely shocked. I wasn't the only one surprised. "Oh, don't be silly. You should eat it. It's the best sushi you can't get overseas." "But Mom, Emily has been running around helping everyone. She should be the one eating it." "Well, it's only natural for a daughter-in-law. She's the daughter-in-law, so it's expected for her to help when she's here," my mother-in-law said hastily. "So, it's natural for me to work just because I'm the daughter-in-law, huh? Interesting. Very interesting." My eyes turned cold as I realized this. The table shook so hard that it almost knocked over the tea. My mother-in-law fell silent, and a hush fell over the room. "What?" My husband's voice echoed in the now silent room. My brother-in-law had slammed his fist on the table. My brother-in-law's expression was unreadable with his head down, and my mother-in-law and the rest of the relatives watched him fearfully. The room fell into an uneasy silence. "Because she's the daughter-in-law, what?" "Well." My mother-in-law let out a weird noise at his menacingly low voice. With his head still down, he glared at her from under his brows. I could almost see the dramatic sound effect behind him. In fact, I might actually be seeing it. What's the connection between her being the daughter-in-law and not getting sushi? Well, you see, if she's an inadequate daughter-in-law, she doesn't deserve to eat sushi. My brother-in-law slammed the table again, and my mother-in-law yelped and recoiled. Ridiculous. This is beyond outdated. This is nothing but blatant harassment. With his booming voice, my mother-in-law fell back in shock, the relatives turned pale, and the children were on the verge of tears. Despite this, my brother-in-law continued. "Mom, are you seriously mistreating her just because she's Kevin's wife?" "No, I would never." "What about you too?" Ignoring my mother-in-law, who struggled to find words, my brother-in-law turned his gaze to his two sisters. His intimidating gaze was so frightening that his sisters let out small cries from the back of their throats. Has this been going on the whole time? Since my mother-in-law didn't respond, he turned to me for confirmation. Since I had no reason to stay silent or lie, I nodded. "Emily, stop it." Ignoring my mother-in-law's distress, I spoke up. "Ever since I got married 5 years ago, this has been my treatment at every family gathering. I've been worked like a servant all day. And I've never had a single piece of the high-end sushi. Every time, your mother says, 'Oops. I forgot,' while she and Kevin eat it right in front of me." "Kevin, is this true?" "Well, yeah." He nodded, pale and intimidated by his brother's intensity. Did you stand by silently while your wife was treated like this?" "But Mom said she needed to discipline a bad wife." "So you think Emily is a bad wife?" "What? No, I mean, You're pathetic." My brother-in-law turned away from my husband, as if he had nothing more to say. My husband turned pale. "You all are pathetic. And Dad too. All of you." Saying this, my brother-in-law glared around at the relatives. No one could argue, their faces pale as they looked down. Finally, he looked at my mother-in-law again. No, he glared at her. "Eek. I know you dote on Kevin because he's the youngest. But this is different. If you don't see this as wrong, then something is seriously wrong with you all." "Well, you see, there's a reason for." "I don't care about that. I've seen enough just from today. Ignoring whatever my mother-in-law tried to say, my brother-in-law turned to look at my father-in-law. I could see how despicable you all are. I have no obligation to help such parents. I won't be sending any more money. Do you understand? What? My in-laws exclaimed in unison. My father-in-law is in his early 60s and has already retired. With their meager pension, they can't make ends meet, and it's hard to find work in his 60s in this tough job market. So how can they afford high-end sushi? Yes, that's because of my brother-in-law's remittances. Working overseas, he earns a substantial income and sends a significant amount of money back home. Hearing they would lose that, my mother-in-law turned pale. Wait. If you do that, your pension and dad's retirement fund should be enough. I'm not sending money so you can throw lavish parties. If you have enough for that, you don't need my support. Not just my in-laws, but my 2 sisters-in-law panicked as well. Hey, we can't manage without your help. We rely on you for our kids' activities. And we need your support for private school fees of my kids. It was an absurd situation, and my brother-in-law shut them down with a firm "I don't care." That's so unfair. My sisters-in-law murmured, dejected. Finally, he turned to my husband. Kevin, I can't employ someone who doesn't respect their own wife. You're fired. What? At my brother-in-law's words, my husband let out the loudest scream. That's right, my husband works at the US branch of my brother-in-law's company. He earns a pretty good salary there. I had hoped you would take over the US office one day. But how can you lead if you can't even stand up for your wife? I'm disappointed. His anger was palpable. Wait, please don't do that. I'll apologize, just don't fire me. The moment my husband said that, my brother-in-law's face twisted with rage as he roared, "You should be apologizing to Emily, not me." And overwhelmed by his fury, my husband collapsed. At some point, someone had moved the children to another room, leaving only the trembling adults. The high-end sushi in front of me seemed to beckon, so I took a piece from my husband's plate. Delicious. I said involuntarily, as the sushi was indeed very tasty. So, this is the delicious sushi my husband has been eating while ignoring me. Interesting. Very interesting. And my feelings cooled. 100 years of love vanished in an instant. It is said that resentment over food is powerful, and my accumulated anger exploded all at once. If my husband had protected me from my mother-in-law's bullying, if he had said, "Want to share my sushi," things might have been different. But he didn't. He laughed and silently watched as my mother-in-law tormented me. My brother-in-law looked at me. Emily, I'm truly sorry for our foolish family. I'm ashamed to call them family. I don't know how I can make it up to you. But I'll do whatever I can, he said. Then, can you hire me at your company? The words came out before I could think. I've always been interested in working for a foreign company, but never had the opportunity. If my husband gets fired, there will be a vacancy. I asked on a whim, and he immediately replied, "Sure. Yes." What? Wait, Emily. Are you serious? I never go back on my word. Well, okay, if Emily gets a high salary at your place, we'll manage. My husband seemed worried about maintaining our standard of living. What does he mean by "I manage," thinking my income will suffice? I told him exactly what I thought. I'm divorcing you. I'll claim alimony, as much as I can. With no kids, it probably won't be much, but I'll take what I can get. My husband screamed again, "What?" Your brother's words woke me up. I was already planning not to come here anymore after today. Divorcing you means I never have to come here again. Hooray. I said a hooray in a flat, emotionless tone. My husband's face turned from pale to white. Is he wearing face powder? I turned to look at my in-laws and sisters-in-law. That's it, I'm done as the daughter-in-law. We won't see each other again. Goodbye. I said this calmly and stood up. Well, I think I'll leave too, my brother-in-law said, standing up as well. My mother-in-law, snapping out of her shock, clung to me in a panic. Wait, Emily, please give me a chance to apologize you. I'm really sorry, it was just a little jealousy. But I won't do it again, please forgive me. If you forgive me, my son won't stop sending money. Who would forgive you, idiot? I didn't shout, nor did I say it with a sarcastic smile. I spoke calmly, with dead eyes, like a robot. Did you know? Sometimes, saying it this way can instill more fear in the other person. What? The effect was perfect. She let out a strange noise and collapsed to the floor. My sisters-in-law were pale, my relatives were pale. And my husband was white. Did his soul leave his body? Goodbye, everyone. With a bright smile, I left my in-laws' house. Sorry, Emily. I'll introduce you to a lawyer for the divorce. My brother-in-law said, apologizing repeatedly as we left together. After that, the lawyer my brother-in-law introduced was excellent, and I successfully got a divorce with a decent amount of alimony. My now ex-husband Kevin resisted until the end, but when I threatened to take it to court, he backed down. Apparently, he didn't want to go through a trial. My ex-husband, who had been fired from his company, was job hunting for a while. Since he was incompetent and couldn't find a job, my brother-in-law helped him out. There's no way someone like him could easily find a job. He tried doing part-time jobs, but ended up as a recluse at his parents' house. I received relentless calls from my ex-in-laws and ex-sisters-in-law. It seems they lost contact with my brother-in-law and wanted me to persuade him to resume the remittances. So I told them, how should I know, you idiots, and they were speechless. Then I hung up and blocked their number. If they try calling from another number, I'll consult my lawyer. But I doubt they have the guts for that. As for me, I'm working hard at my new job. It's a new field and challenging for me, and there are a lot to learn. But the mental toughness I developed from 5 years of harassment at my ex-in-law's house is paying off. As I persevered, I gradually got the hang of things. It seems my ex-husband had been doing a very sloppy job, relying on his position as the CEO's brother. The employees saw my work ethic, tearfully thanked me, and say, thank you for joining us. Though I can't think about remarriage right now, if I meet someone in the future, I'll make sure they value their wife. I need to sharpen my discernment skills to do that, and with that in mind, I continue to excel at my job every day.